Hey everyone, welcome to the LIBERcast episode 144. Um, I want to thank everyone first for joining in the LIBERcast, for the new people and the guests. Thank you so much for partaking and sharing your precious time with me tonight. And my guest, Catherine, is going to be there tonight, a fellow content creator of the One Great Work Network.com. I'm just gonna do it just quickly like that. Give me a second. Here we go. So we are both part of the One Great Work Network.com, absolutely free, filled with important information and sensible information and things that can really bring change into your lives. And there's over 70 content creators on the One Great Work Network now. There's English people, French people for the people who are bilingual, and you hear that from the French side. Welcome, and I'm happy to have you tonight. I try to bring more French people on this side and on the LIBERcast, and I'm working really hard to put this stuff up. But since the LIBERcast is an bilingual, everyone is welcome. So tonight it's gonna be an awesome conversation. I was looking for inviting Catherine for sometimes right now, and time was we're so busy with life and things like that, and I have barely time to do the LIBERcast. So I'm gonna introduce my guest. Hello, sister. Welcome to the LIBERcast.
Thank you so
I'm
much for
so happy
reaching
to
out
have
to me,
you.
Fred.
Oh, your volume is down.
Oh, is that
I'm
good?
gonna look onto the comments if people have questions during the podcast. I'm gonna be looking on Facebook and YouTube. I'll do my best. Are you have your problem with sound?
Oh, can you hear me better now?
I can barely hear you. Give me a second.
Oh.
Here you
How
go.
about now? How about now?
Your
Check one,
volume is
two.
way down. Let me see.
It is.
Things happen.
I hear you pretty loud.
Let me see.
It's
The problem I was telling you earlier. The problem is from my side. Here, can give me
check
a
one, two. Check one,
perfect,
two.
awesome. You
Okay,
know,
great.
there's thing happen. We're dealing with it. Streaming and browserware or shit. But it's the easier way to do it. I was working on OBS, and I barely have time for the LIBERcast. Sorry about that. So welcome, Catherine. And
Thank you, Fred.
for the people who don't know Catherine, please tell us about your work and where to get it.
Oh, like you showed, it's a lot of it is on One Great Work Network profile, which started February of 2019, if I am correct. But I also have a lot of videos, and they're still there. If you go to YouTube
Yes.
and put in the search Awake Radio and the number one with no spaces, and then just like go to videos, there's it goes back. It was about 20, 10, 11 that I started. Once Occupy Wall Street started, I started documenting and filming. I had a really small, crappy camera at the time, but I started doing radio on Progressive Radio Network, co-hosting with Danny Schechter, the news dissector, he called himself. And he did a couple of documentaries. One was called Plunder, the Crime of Our Time, and the other one was called In Debt We Trust. But, I like during Occupy Wall Street, I mean, I reached out to Danny Schechter before Occupy Wall Street started, because my whole life I have been, a dissenter, I don't know, a whistleblower, just dedicated to the truth. And what I'm constantly using the term fitness all the time, because of the absolutely atrocious, not just family system, but the entire community and extended family, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. I mean, everyone, to me, were just completely not fit. Like they just were not healthy. And, due to the atrocious conditions, the toxic environment I was born into, like as I was mentioning before we started, your body is so healthy when you're young. You can't help that your body just has these adverse responses to these toxic, unhealthy environments that you're just trapped in. And so since the age of 6 in 1970, all people around me did when my body was exposing all of the, kind of stress, illnesses at a young age, all through the 70s. And then by the later 70s into the 80s, when I was getting older and, a teenager, and, your body is just able to start fighting back and challenging the illegitimate authority. And again, it was purely just an organic response. It wasn't anything that you intellectually really think about or plan or anything like that. It was just, mind body, like your mind body is connected and working completely in sync, like you're supposed to. And, the more my body was having these adverse responses and standing up, to the fraudulent authority and telling people, like, I mean, I was dying all through the 70s, dying. I mean, I was like, by the age of 8 in 1972, I was like, I felt like my life was over. Like I felt like I was going to be, my health was just going to be crippled for the rest of my life. I knew, like I could feel it, that I was not going to be the healthy, vibrant, creative person that I was meant to be in the world. And I had a really horrible experience this one time in the room upstairs where I used to sleep, where like I could literally see like almost like a dark entity, like just completely envelop me, by that age of, 8 in 1972. And it was just horrifying. And, just barely surviving like through the 70s and, hearing people around me, the more I tried to seek, comfort or support from other people, the more I tried to explain to people like how much my health was really suffering being in that environment, and just trying to find anyone to be like a surrogate, kind of a role model, someone who just might be able to sort of, take me in, or just, I mean, I didn't care if my parents could, raise me or not. I mean, I didn't, if they couldn't do it, or if they weren't up to it, whatever their excuses were, I didn't care as long as someone did. But there wasn't anyone to do it. And I could literally feel, because that's when I just kind of knew that like our health and development had like a certain window of opportunity, and once a stage of your development closes, like that's it, and I could feel that window closing. Like if I didn't find someone to be on my side, to advocate for me, to raise me, like that was it. I mean, I was going to be stuck, like literally stuck in the early 70s, like for the rest of my life. And so like it was just basically a series of, the more adversely my mind body would respond to the toxic dysfunction enabling of people around me, who were always like just making excuses and enabling, the frauds in authority. Your body is just constantly trying to compensate, and you're getting literally pumped full of, when I say rage and frustration, that is getting pumped into me as a teenager. And then, in the so-called home environment. And then, I have people outside of the family, and, neighbors or whoever, constantly, my other people, saying to me and making me feel like it's my body's responses that are wrong. And it's like, always authority is always right, always right, like quote unquote right, like the Monsanto genetically modified version of right. And your right, the true organic right, is wrong, and so, I mean, like, if it wasn't for, I don't know, heavy metal music in the 80s, exercising, like I exercised a lot. Like I just attribute, like the fight I had in me. I mean, I spent, it has to be like 6-7 years of just really, really hard fighting with the abuser, just, and it made me physically ill to have to like curtail myself so that I didn't literally physically attack, or worse, to the abuser. And so you got to just swallow and swallow and swallow, being right. I mean, we live in a really, I mean, by now, like, sick is just not even, is way, we are so far into the depths of like depravity, of just mental derangement, misalignment, deviance. Like, I can't even believe that after all these decades that a kid, and a healthy kid, just knows what's going on and is exposing it. And it's, just the simple fact that you don't have leverage and traction, like, so people, this is what I'm saying. It was the public that was doing it. It was not the, the Satanists. It was not the sociopaths that be. It was not the bankers. It was not the corporatocracy. I mean, they're, of course, somewhere in the shadows, behind the scenes, kind of pulling all of these strings. But ultimately, it was all the people around me that were completely weaponized, to against the very people that they're supposed to be advocating for and protecting and cultivating and raising and fighting like crazy, for you. And instead, they're all just throwing you under the bus for decades and decades. littering, like, oh, like a little bit of abuse isn't gonna, hurt you. A little bit of, oh, a little, like, some abuse is like good for you. It builds character, they would try to say.
Yeah.
And, just like fluoride's good for you, just like the jab is good for you, just like, chemtrails are for you, good for you. So they were trying to, like, that's why I call the podcast that I do on revolution.radio Studio B. I do it every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I call it the Family Industrial Complex because it really is
Yes.
like an exact micro of the, military industrial complex, or the, the banking industrial complex, and then even, the healthcare industrial complex.
Yes. And
And
let me tell you, sister, there's all kind of abuse and violence and negligence that led to what we have now as a society, because in natural law you have the principle of correspondence. So if the parents and grandparents are broken, immoral people, they're gonna grow and groom other people just like that. So we have a problem of intergenerational mind control. And then the culture is so perverted, is so misleading when it comes to real life skill and spirituality and things like that. And they, they look, we can talk about this all night, about all the walls of the prison, and where it starts home,
yep,
and it violence can never be justified. So the people are choosing violence and negligence for themselves, for their kids, for their co-workers, and these are microaggression. I'm not talking about getting violent physically. I'm talking about emotional negligence, emotional violence, physical violence, and the lack of spirituality that led us to this atheist, progressist, communist society based upon uh, Satanism and the egoism. We should change the name and call it what it really is, because there's a lot of different problems that stack up together, and culture is one of them. We have to point out what is the catalyst for mind control, and culture is one of them. So you have hypersexualization, and then low IQ schooling, and news on the TV, and all these programs and these chains that they put upon the mind of the people. And what is really disturbing is that it's getting worse. Like I said, on the French side, I keep on repeating, there is no great awakening. It's an illusion. There's no great awakening. It's getting worse all the time, and we have to counter all these iPad kids, these low attention span people. Most people cannot tolerate to listen to a video more than 5 minutes or less. So the lack of will and care is what is spawning from this pathology, this parasite mindset that the society is getting into. And we're not even talking about materialism in this case. We're talking about more a psychological aspect, and the repetition, and the MK Ultra that had been spread throughout the society. The gaslighting, and all these things that are microaggression, and they're very dangerous because and I was looking into this article you sent me earlier, and it was about pathologizing dissent and
Right.
people or and the free thinkers and the freedom movement. And it's very real when you have the eyes to see it. It's incredible, you know.
I mean, like me, I focused on health and
Yes.
fitness all my life. I mean, and I mean all my life, because I knew, from my own lived experience and how ill I was made to feel, like ill the people around me were making me at such a young age. Like, you're being made ill. It's like, before you don't even get a start, like before you even get a chance, like you don't get any momentum, and the ill people, the adult children
Yes.
around me, and people even my age, like, are already like turning you into the role that the system, the death economy, the corporatocracy, in the Corbett report, he was calling it pathocracy.
Hmm.
And it was a term coined by this guy. Again, like, you got to watch the video in the, it's on Children's Health Defense. And I was just like, I was really grateful to see this on Children's Health Defense, because, like, I've reached out to people at Children's Health Defense trying to, like, you guys got to talk about child abuse more.
Yes.
I mean, it's supposed to be Children's Health Defense, but they stick strictly to the vaccine issue, and not really ever, and I'm grateful again to the Corbett report for Descent into Madness, but I kind of knew early in the video, this guy is not going to mention child abuse. He's not going to mention the abusive family, abusive parents, or heaven forbid, the multi-billion debt note child trafficking industry. I mean, just like, I can't even sometimes wrap my head around how, like, are you kidding me, people? Like, a multi-billion dollar / debt note child trafficking industry. I mean, if that doesn't expose the fraudulence of the monetary system, that because I mean, I was teaching, just kind of figuring all of this stuff out. I had that huge bank account of rage and frustration that was pumped into me at such an early age. So I was just like, I was going to get to the bottom of what was going on, because I knew I was right. I knew what I lived, what I experienced, and everybody around me is telling me, like, they're trying to water it down. They're trying to get me to recant my testimony. Like Alicia Owen in the Franklin Credit Union scandal. Like, you're just literally being threatened, like, and watered down, and people are minimizing everything that I went through. And I knew that it was really wrong. I knew that it was criminal. I knew that it was just completely, just ill and sick. And I mean, arrests should have been getting made. And here, instead, people are just kicking the debt can down the road. They didn't want to call it what it was. They didn't want to acknowledge and admit that it was the, leader who was abusive, and, just hold them accountable. Just acknowledge what was happening. And then we could have taken steps, in the right direction, like ever since then. And no one wanted to do that. All anyone wanted to do was minimize and deny and water down the reality, which is not even physically impossible, because like the laws of nature, are not going to tolerate this stuff. The laws of nature and health are what they are. And when people do not live in alignment with, with the laws of nature, I mean, like, we're in so much trouble. I don't know how much more, natural law, health, human beings in Palestine and other, the Congo and other parts of the world can scream. Like, how much more darker can the reality get? And yet, like, grown adults, so-called, citizens, just continue to act like adult children. They just continue taking like a back seat and expecting someone else or some leader or some organization or the UN or whoever to, to solve all of these problems. And I don't understand, like, what are the people waiting for? Like, when are they gonna just, step up to the plate and be, I had to do it, starting in the 70s into the 80s, is just, take charge, like, get the stupid fraudulent leader just out of the way, challenge, get in their face, which, some people are doing. But as grown-ups, confronting, a lot of people are just going into the halls of Congress and, trying to confront all these, brainwashed, beholden to Israel Zionist people in Congress and telling them to end the genocide against Palestine. I mean, the public, has to stop, asking or telling, these fraudulent leaders to, to stop doing this or to end the genocide or to have a ceasefire or whatever, when it's the people that need to grow up, take charge, like, again, like I had to. I mean, I can't even tell you what the stuff that I dealt with all through the decades, the things that people said to me, like, not once throughout the course of my life was I ever regarded or seen as any kind of a victim. It was always just, oh, just get over it. Oh, the poor abuser, I mean, when you're like abused, like literally, like from the age of 6 on, and then all you have are people just, you're an adult now, people would say to me, maybe after like some time went by. And then here I am, I'm going to, it's going to be 2026. I'm going to be 62 years old in April. And people were saying to me, oh, like, you can't blame your parents. Like, you're an adult now. But meanwhile, I'm living in a world where so-called adults, like, all they do is point fingers at their abusive parents and blame them. I mean, I was telling people literally more than 5 decades ago to get it in gear, that your leaders are abusive. You know how many abusive leaders, occupy family systems? I mean, like, are you like a clear, like, if nothing is clearer than the macro abusers running your country, then the scale down micro abusers running your household. But that, like, the problem is that's where people learn to tolerate and bail out and make excuses for, like that whole, oh, your parents did the best they could, but the thing with that lame excuse is that's not how the math functions. That's not how the laws of nature function. That's not how science or health function. And I'm all about you have to adhere strictly to the laws of nature, to science, and to the math. And that's it. Like, where so-called human beings, Monsanto genetically modified people, have gotten this crazy notion that they can just make up whatever math and science they feel like making up and saying, like, oh, well, we'll just put the goalposts like wherever we want, without getting that there are severe, when it comes to childhood and child rearing, there's no wiggle room. And people all through the 70s into the 80s were all acting like, child development is so forgiving that, like, no matter how much abuse or negligence, neglect, or compromising and verbally abusing, emotionally abusing your child, it's like, like it's so forgiving, and then the kid's just going to be able to get over it. And people just never wanted to accept the literal fact that if you screw up like that bad, like for a child, there are severe and lasting health consequences, mentally, physically, and spiritually. This is why even the people didn't want to really adhere to, natural law or health or science, childhood development, and kids need certain, it is required by nature and health that children get what they need at, various stages of their development, like physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And everybody just wanted to just go, just get over it, kid. And, or worse. I mean, the abuses of children that I have learned about over the decades, that, what I lived was just outrageous and criminal. And, the satanic ritual abuse of children, and the torture, and the literal sacrificing, and raping children to death, and infants in all of these sick, satanic ritual abuse, ceremonies or whatever they put on. I mean, look this stuff up, boy. And
there's a lot of people who have been getting abuse from their own family members.
They are the worst. And, so what, I try to tell people, again, with the whole Israel Palestine thing, like I was trying to tell people, back in, the late 80s into the 90s, when I was reading John Bradshaw, I used to really like him a lot. We're all under occupation. Like, he literally had diagrams that, I could share the screen and show them to you. Most people are, familiar with the Palestinian, the map of Palestine starting in 1948 or 47, all the way to 2023, and how it just keeps shrinking, and being taken over, by, I just say U.S. rail, because, we're not the U.S. anymore. We're literally taken over by Israel. And so John Bradshaw, in one of his books called Healing the Shame That Binds You, he basically had a diagram of the exact same thing, trying to illustrate how, it's in the family system that the true self of a person like the more occupied they are in a dysfunctional and an abusive family system, and they're getting their healthy boundaries, constantly invaded and trespassed and violated. And he shows like the true self of the person is just like shrunken and like this small inside the larger like false self. And I was like trying to like teach this stuff to people, and study it, but I really had no idea how undermined in all my attempts to gain all this kind of it was really becoming quite obvious the more time that passed how hard it was to gain traction in speaking out about all of this stuff. Like the more I would try to you know uh teach this or speak about it, the more I would be going up against people, and they would just be kind of going like this to me. And I'm just me, I'm just like this one injured, traumatized, even though thank God I had that bank account of rage and frustration in me. But still, it's like, not, I mean, I was determined and I just kept plugging on like all this time, but I had no idea that it was going to be this hard and go on this long.
Yeah,
Um,
and let me tell you, when it comes to men, it's even harder. When men are dealing with these kind of things, you have all kinds of limitation and lack of work for men to get through abuse and mind control. Men are a lot very repressed because of the culture, and this is why we have now a bunch of I call them the meninists. Um, this is a crazy, crazy, crazy story. The abuse who has been unleashed onto the children since before we can remember. Family members, neighbors, violence. In the past, even the neighbors could fucking hit the children if they were caught or doing something they didn't like. So it was an sexual abuse, rape, things like that in family. It's very common, and it's very taboo. The most of the time the family will hide this, and the children will pay the price. So, and we're not even talking about the medical aspect, the hospitals. The here in Quebec, it's called the DPJ, and it's the Children Protective, and they are completely into children. They're selling children, and
yep,
they're supposed to protect the agency,
yeah,
child protection agency.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and they're
I know.
totally, it's all there. The information is all there, but people ignore it because it
Yep,
doesn't. It's not home. It's not happening to them. But the reality is, we had kidnappings. The children are sequestered into prisons and things like that. So we're not
oh
having the
my
world that we
God.
all wish for. We're gonna just it's gonna be bad and dangerous because we're gonna have all generation of with a lack of logic and a lack of spirituality and a lack of morality that will actually have huge influence into the evolution of the world we're living, children are the most abused people on earth
Yep.
because they're
Unbelievable.
defenseless, they're innocent, and people have this tendency to say that violence against children, slapping your children, it's a good thing, to correct them physically. It's not. It
Go slap your
never has been.
go slap your government. Go slap your leaders.
Yeah,
They're the ones that need to be. They need to be worse than slapped.
these parents, that we have now are they're unleashing their lack of control and their inadequacies onto their children, and children are very smart,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know what it makes it worse is that the children will blame themselves for the violence and the negligence and the abuse from their parent. So there's a whole can of worm of pathologies when it comes to that. So they're gonna try, if they cannot get love and care from their parents, they're gonna try to go outside of the family and they'll find something else, a
It really is
substitute of
a
parents. So we have the
yeah.
government,
So,
we have religions, we have the cults, you have the gangs, and there's a few of them. I can tell like that, but essentially, what people needs to know is that we're all responsible for that. We learn to tolerate the intolerable and all the abuse. And at a time, you know, here in Quebec, here in Quebec, people are a lot of people are raising their children, um, and not abusing them physically, but they're misleading them. They're lying to them,
indoctrinating them.
indoctrinating by repetition and fear mongering. So, and we're not even talking about the bullying and about the parent are bullying their children because they're not perfect enough and things like that. So, I mean, it's a crazy story.
I
I mean,
wanted
I
to.
mean, I see it all around me. I see it everywhere. You know, I I I have 4 kids, okay,
Wow.
and my kids, I never I never physically corrected them. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in violence. I would never do that. You know, so I'm telling them the truth. I'm telling them the truth about everything. I mean, you can, you have to uh, word these things another way because they're children. But essentially, if if you give them care and love and empathy, your children will grow up with their imagination. They will be able to trust, and they will be able to understand more quickly because they don't live into this repressive emotional mind control that most parents are doing. And when you were talking about abuse on children, the pandemic was it makes me, I'm thinking about it now and it makes me fucking angry. I cannot fucking believe that these parents did that to their children,
I know.
make them wear
Yeah.
mask,
Yeah.
vaccination with this shit, and play into
Oh yeah.
squares, a meter squares in at schools. No, it's crazy. It's that is abuse. This is violence
The
against.
really scary, the really thing that, I mean, this scared me decades ago. It scares me even more now is the pandemic of like adult children and adult children. I would, I want to think of a more stronger term, but this stunted growth. Like I can't even believe. Like I'm just blown away at how bad. I mean, the term adult child was used a lot. When I first, came across it, like sometime in the 80s, it used to be attributed to adult child of like alcoholics or drug addicts. Like if you grew up in like in a drug addicted parents or alcoholic parents, they would, it would be like, adult child of alcoholics, or that's where it's mostly, as far as I know, the term was applied. and now it's really like everyone is just so, their growth is so stunted. And I mean, I can't help but, like, when I was, again, a child, like young, in the early 70s, mid 70s, I was fully aware that I was supposed to be raised, to reach my dreams. Like, I'm like, why aren't people like raising me to reach my dreams, raising me to my healthy potential and encouraging me like, yeah, go after your dreams. And I mean, my environment was particularly, health crippling, but like what was even kind of more worrisome to me was that, friends in the neighborhood, they didn't have it as bad as health crippling at home as I had it. But what I started paying attention to by like, the mid to like later 70s, maybe by like 1977, when Saturday Night Fever came out, because they filmed that movie down the block from my house. The hardware store where they filmed it was literally down the street on 73rd Street and 5th Avenue in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And I lived on 73rd Street between 6th and 7th Avenue. So, it was kind of a big deal, that. But anyway, like it like what I think it was all of the, the attacks on my health and the beating into submission that, always made my body kind of respond and try to counter it all. And so I always had this really, like will to really, really live. And it made me want to really, tried, not very successfully, to just live more than people who, actually even had it better families than me, because they weren't getting the assault as bad as I got it. They their will to really live and excel didn't get as ignited as it got in me. And so they were basically like, oh, okay to just kind of coast through life and, just get a job for a paycheck and a pension, and have some kids. And to me, like, those people are actually kind of like, they make it bad, and because they think that they're not abuse victims, and they're completely wrong. Like, they are abuse victims. And I always believed that we're on this earth to fully self-actualize and be supported, get paid, like, that's how I knew the monetary system was fraudulent.
Yes.
By the 80s, I knew the monetary, like, you can't have these talks without talking about the monetary system. James Corbett did not talk about the fraudulent. He didn't talk about the weaponization of the monetary system. And that's what keeps people in line, is the weaponization of money. Because I had to take care of my health. I was like, screw you. Like, I'm going to build my health and fitness. I worked out. I started exercising in the late 70s, started going to the gym. I did like bodybuilding, 80s, 90s, like all the way to like 2004. So like 2 full decades of like heavy duty, like weight training. Because for 2 reasons, like it was the the exchange of exercise, like you're like dancing with, you're having this exchange with the laws of nature, which gives you a complete accurate feedback, unlike all the liars and minimizers and enablers that I was surrounded by. Exercising was just kind of the only way to interact with anything that wasn't going to lie to you, and it gave you like a true reading back. And it was the visceral feeling of just lifting heavy weights. Again, it was just kind of the only relationship I had with anything that I could push up against. Because there were no healthy people to challenge and take on and push my my abilities up against, who weren't going to like make you feel guilty, that you were challenging them and making them look bad. Like there wasn't any other relationship with anyone else around that was going to be there solely for me and helping to mirror me for my own benefit. It was all at my expense for their benefit. And so this exercising and weight training really helped me to just sort of like keep my head on straight. And then
channeling.
Even yoga practice, I learned meditation and yoga at the same time, at the same gym that I was going to. And I did yoga. I didn't fully understand like yoga practice until a bit later. But anyway, like the other reason why I was so gravitating towards exercise, was because I needed to protect and build what was left of my health. And because people around me were trying to lie and say that like, oh, abuse is good for you, it builds character. But meanwhile, like my body said like otherwise. And so through exercise, I knew that, there's a line that you cross. I mean, when you weight train, it's like you want to, and any kind of exercise, like the whole point is to stress, the body, the muscle, just enough. And that's what builds. It's just the right amount of stress that will build. Anything more is going to completely tear down and break apart. And so, that was my way of like, finding out for myself, even though I kind of knew already, because I was living and feeling it. And, so like, yeah, like where the line was drawn between building and tearing down. And, so wait, I was going to say something else. I'm like, just kind of like, like losing my train of thought. Yeah. Like, child rearing and child development is exactly like weight training. If we give children the right amount of stress, if we're there through each stage of their development, adding, a little bit more responsibility when they get older, a little bit more weight when they get older, that's how you see a person, through their development, and then they become healthy, well-adjusted grown-ups. I mean, I didn't think that was so radical for crying out loud. But I mean, just following child development would have been a good way that people could have navigated, follow nature, follow health, follow the science of child development. But of course, I know a lot of that stuff gets co-opted. But parents, they're there with the child, and the child's feedback is giving them the answer. If people were just present enough to receive it, instead of like just going by whatever Dr. Spock book or something that people were reading back in the day. I'm not familiar with this guys work at all? I just remember the name Dr. Spock that people used to refer to in certain times of somebody that would, things like, oh, if a kid's, I don't know if this was Dr. Spock or not, but letting a kid cry, like, oh, you'll spoil the kid.
Yeah,
I mean, all kinds of insanity.
yes.
And I mean, like, all you have to do is be present. And the child's responses, just like when you exercise, it's your body's reaction. Like, if you're doing some kind of exercise and you pull and strain and tear a muscle or a ligament, there's your answer, So why can't it be the same with the way you rear your child? I mean, if they're screaming and they're so distressed, I mean, isn't that clearly like the feedback right there in the present moment that you're supposed to take as feedback, so then you can adjust yourself and take the kids' feedback? I mean, I don't get it. I mean,
Let me tell you something. I'm raising as a great worker. Okay, I'm doing this. My children are part of my great work, and let me tell you something. I'm doing everything that my parent didn't. I do the absolute contrary of everything my parent told me. So I'm never hit my children. I tell them the truth about things. I respect them as sovereign being. They are not. I don't own these children. I'm a caretaker. I'm a guide through their life. I would never lie to them, because children are smart, and yes, if you have some flaws, and if you show them a little something that you didn't want, the children will mirror it to you. So the
exactly.
relationship that I was talking about, the principle of correspondence. If you respect yourself as a human, if you have self-love and self-respect, and you know your boundaries, then you can give that to them. You can give them love and respect and show them that there's boundaries. If if a parent is self-loathing, he doesn't know itself, it doesn't know himself or herself, and then they're in this pattern of trauma and abuse in their own life. They're gonna groom their children just this way. So they're gonna make another immoral,
Yep.
soulless, and dangerous person in the future. Because these children, all they need is attention, playing, love, and respect and understanding. Children it's very simple. You treat them like you would be like treated. It's
Nature's
very,
currency.
very simple. Yes.
Nature's currency, like spending time, attention,
Yes.
cultivating. I
Very.
mean, and what scares the hell out of me, again, over the decades, I mean, human beings are a part of nature. Like raising children is like planting trees or farming. I always like thinking of like parents either as personal trainers, like supposed to be like, raising like healthy and fit people mentally, physically, and spiritually, or like farmers, organic farmers, hopefully, who, cultivate the earth, create like the soil, and set the stage, for nature to, to kind of do what it does in raising just healthy people to be the future. Like there's no future if you're abusing children. I mean, people have literally raised Satanists like they fed their children to the Satanists. I mean, this is just like, incredible. Like I just don't understand like how
It's fucking
unconscious.
madness.
I can't even wrap my head around how unconscious and oblivious, can a person be, can so, like all of these so-called, cops, police, who see, this is what I'm saying. It's such a war against health, and I can't even believe how many people can't see it. How many people, like I knew, again, when I was a kid, in the 70s, the 80s, it started to go away because I could fight back. I was no longer, I literally could have killed and like wanted to kill my mother by the 80s, and I could have, but sorry. I know, I hate when that happens. I had this train of thought and now I kind
Yeah,
of
I just want to
lost it.
say um, that everybody that join, if you have questions, if you have questions, if you and you want communicate with us, it's possible by Facebook and YouTube. And I just want to say to people that I think everything is very important to talk about, and I think we never talk enough about this, about the,
Exactly.
and we're not even just talking about children. We're talking adult to adult relationship, and the violence that is tolerated. It's relative from a country to another, but like we mentioned, like abuse and violence, coming in different forms, different kind of violence, and it's very important to know what mind control is in order to get rid of mind control. And it's very, very important that people educate themselves about this. This is the only solution. When you want to get rid of mind control, intergeneration mind control, you have to get the tools, and the tools are very easily, you can freely have them. You have a plenty, like Catherine, the people and other people who are talking about these kind of things. Yes, sure, it's all a mostly dark stuff. It's not easy. That's on for people. It's taboo to have conversation like that. But we need to expose this darkness, and this is why what we're doing on the One Great Work Network. We sure there's solutions and things that we can do, like shadow working. Shadow working should be one of the first thing that people should know. Instead of fucking medicating themselves to a coma, um, like
See, that's
SSRIs and things like that, to get rid of this mind control, because mind control has been perfected with the time. It's not over. It's way more now efficient in the way that the state or the eugenist doesn't have to do it anymore. It's in the culture, it's in the program, and the people are swallowing it. Let's be real now. Let's be real about this. If people didn't want violence and negligence and immorality, then we wouldn't behave like that with children or our brothers and sisters, because we're all brothers and sisters, and we're treating
really
ourselves,
so sad.
we're treating the others like we're treating ourselves, in the community, in the culture, in the country. And because people don't know shit about morality, they don't know shit about right and wrong, they don't know shit about fucking natural law that should be, my children will be educated this way. My kid, my older daughter, we started to read the end of the end of evil from Jeremy Locke in French, and this little book is incredible. It tells the things. It's very simple. Even children can understand it.
They
And
can understand, they could teach it.
Yeah, sure.
children teach it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you give them the better tools, the better, if they're well equipped morally and spiritually, then they're gonna build an immune system from lies and tyranny. And this is what
Exactly.
we have to do as parents: is raise them well with respect, empathy, and do not lie to them. It's simple. The children will know. They will tell you you lied. And one of the things that keeps on coming back as a pattern is children parent abandonment. The parent made the choice to work both 40 to 50 hours a week and let their children being raised by strangers and
Yeah.
and 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 charlatans and fraudulent people and liars, and they come back to home and they cannot wait that the weekend is ending to send them back. They cannot even fucking tolerate them more than 24 hours a time.
Yeah.
It's we don't have parents anymore.
Parents are they're the worst. Like, to me, they're the worst. And what, um, I was a little disappointed. I mean, I didn't, like I said, I didn't think he was going to mention the family system in the descent into madness, but like what I notice all the time, and like I always used the dysfunctional abusive family system as like a template, but it's not just children. It's any vulnerable population. It's anyone who's has little to no leverage. The less leverage you have, it doesn't even matter if you're a child or an adult. It's all about leverage. And the less leverage you have, the more you're screwed. And so, I mean, children have the least amount of leverage. That's why they get screwed. But it's even, grown people get screwed when they don't have any leverage. And that's what I'm saying. Like how do people even consider themselves to be adults if you can be victimized by other adults? And you can't be a healthy adult if you're being victimized by other adults. Like, it just makes no sense. This weird hierarchy, it's all like a man-made system, and people just follow a man-made system rather than functioning just more organically, like rather than functioning more healthily and challenging, authority. And I just wanted to, because like before I was trying to talk about how, human beings are a part of nature, like children, had they been brought up, healthily and organically, were supposed to be like the social immune system, I call it. And had people truly raised children to self-actualize, to just be healthy and authentic, people in society, that would have been the immune system that would have prevented the Satanists from gaining all the, like, the Satanists are just like a cancer, that just keeps spreading and metastasizing and infecting more and more aspects of the planet. And by not protecting, like, we completely dismantled the immune system of society by throwing children under the bus. People allowed satanic Zionists, whatever you want to call, psychopaths, sociopaths, to just continue. Like, so, I mean, I don't get it when, like, people are just clearly so diseased in the mind. Like, that's what I mean. Like, people have literally such weak psychological immune systems in order to just allow diseased people to not even know that you're supposed to stop these people, not help them, not enable them. I mean, this is just sickness. Like, it's so hard to even comprehend. I mean, and
Yes,
then
and I've seen in the article, and I think it's a good point, that we're confronted with secondary psychopathy and sociopathy in the, Machiavellism into the world of today and this era, and it's a very terrifying demise for everybody. You know, we're all one. We're suffering because other people are suffering. So if you have a generation or a percentage of the masses into society who cannot identify themselves because they lack empathy, they lack education, then they're gonna perpetrate and they cannot adapt to a world, so they will try to make other people secondary psychopath. So it's not very complicated. It's all principle of correspondence and the cause and effect. So if you have a society where people are, the information they get is all from TV and radio and all these retarded shows, you know, everywhere, you know, and the schools that tells you that you're not smart enough to accomplish something, and you have the government who tell you that you're not responsible enough to take care of your life, and then there's a phenomena that keeps on getting back all the time. It's victimization. We are always blaming others, and we're always pointing fingers, but instead of trying to heal ourselves, we're we're always ranting about things that we have no control over. We're not fucking get in line, look at yourself in the mirror, and what can I do now to change the things that needs to be changed?
I was always saying, because focusing so much on the macro corruption and
Yes.
evil and war and banking and all that stuff can be so daunting. So, I mean, it always made sense to me that you do affect change in the macro level by working and looking at the scaled down size. I mean, just like when you eat food bite by bite, like you cut it up into bite-sized pieces. So by always focusing on the family system and using it as a template, and then, as time went by, I would take the family system and apply it to even the work environment. And I always used to say, like, a work environment should function like a healthy family system. Employees should be given opportunities to self-actualize, to, be and bring their own unique ideas, freshen up the work environment, and be given a chance to, like, right, like, move up, but in healthy, legitimate ways, like not by, being, like, right, like, and doing pathological things, not by, I mean, there's no way that the monetary system is so used, because, like, it always, like, made sense to me. Again, going back to the 80s, I always felt that, because I knew I needed to protect what was left of and build my health because of completely how horrible I felt. And I didn't care, about money at all. I'm like, I need to do this and I'm going to do it. And, to hell with who doesn't like it. And I always, like, thought to myself, if the monetary system was legitimate, it should come to me when I do the right thing, when I align myself and build my health, mentally, physically, and spiritually. The more I align with the laws of nature and science,
Yes.
I mean, the monetary, like, money should come to me, like, support should come to me. People should be giving me, like, recognition. I'm dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. I mean, I can't align with, like, math and science any more than the way that I was living my life. And no matter how much I was right, no matter how much I studied the science of like child rearing and the effects of abuse on children, I never got recognition. I was always wrong, no matter how right I was, and money never ever came. And so it was clear, literally, like in the 80s. I mean, I was determined to like have money and my morals and principles be like this. I mean, I figured, because it used to be better, back in in the 80s, maybe even the 90s, that you could actually, make money telling the truth and being somewhat sane. But of course, over the decades, man, that just got like more and more destroyed. And so I'm like, I'm going to freaking make money being who I am. And I made an experiment, again, since the 80s. I'm going to just stick to being, I know I'm right, and I am not deviating. I am not going to sell out and keep my mouth shut for a paycheck. No, like, end of story. And it turned out to really be way harder than I expected it to be. And I suffered greatly. Like, I never cared really about materialism. I never cared about, houses and all. Of course, I would definitely want all that stuff, but I'm like, I have to be who I am first. I mean, like, isn't that kind of like a no-brainer? Like, I needed to be raised, to be the authentic person, the muscle. I always thought of it as muscle. Like, I got to build this muscle of my true self up enough, because muscle burns fat. That muscle burns fat. So if you don't have enough of your own true self muscle built up before you're sent out into that world, the fat is going to eat the muscle. And that's what's happening to people. Like, people weren't, their muscle wasn't exercised. Their true self muscle wasn't exercised enough, before they get sent out into the world to make money. And this system just eats people alive because they're just so weak, because they don't have enough, true self muscle mass. And so, like, and even if you like, get money, like, being like, okay, so most people that I knew were just kind of raised to be working class, and then you're just supposed to kind of go out and be working class. But then, you get money, but then you just kind of stay here stagnant, like, all your life. Like, you never get to advance. You never get to, like, reach your full capabilities. And I could never understand, like, why anybody would want to live that way. I mean, I was always trying to empower the people around me and get them to see that you're on this earth to be so much more than what, this country is setting you up to be. And I was the one that people treated like I was crazy. Like, I was more on people's side than they were.
I think we all get through this path. As when you get into spirituality and the occult, and you're starting to approach people with this kind of information, there's going to be all kind of reaction to it. Some people will straight up ignore all the information because of their emotions. Some people will get angry because you're telling them that they're wrong.
People built their life on a false self.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
That's like, and I used to always think of, again, like, you got to have a good foundation to, like, there was no way that I was going to start. I mean, I just knew not to do it. I knew not to like, even attempt to try to build a life, have a job, get married, have kids, have houses, and all of that stuff on the utter horrible upbringing / undermining that I had because I knew that there's no way that life, that structure was going to stand. Like, it's just mathematically and engineeringly impossible. So I'm like, I knew that I needed to do things the legitimate way, to try to, strip down all of the, crap that they were shoving into me, to reparent I spent my decades reparenting myself and
Mm.
trying like thinking to myself, like, I don't get how other people just think that they can just go out into this world and, with the lame, upbringings. Like, nobody that I know was raised, like, nobody was being empowered by their parents. Nobody was being taught by their parents how amazing they are. Nobody was being raised by their parents being told how incredible, being like taught how amazing they are. And yet everybody's going out into the world, and they just get these jobs, and they just kind of stay like, the low person on the totem pole all their life, and they think that that's normal, and they think that that makes them a grown up. And I was always like, oh my god, it terrified me, literally terrified me, like in the 80s, the 90s. And I tell you, boy, I just didn't think that there were so many people that would just bow and comply. To see the amount of people who gave in.
This
And
I think we cannot. I didn't want children earlier in my couple. I've been blessed with having a beautiful wife, and she's a friend, my best friend, and we're having this beautiful relationship together now for 20 years.
wow,
We didn't want to have kids before, but during my great work and my shadow work, I changed my perception by by understanding these little things, um, and I we created four beautiful children, and I want to raise them by example. So I need to check myself, via shadow working, and this is what I do since years now, and I wouldn't go back. I love them so much, and we have to give this by example. Saying something, it's only with words, but when you show them by example, this is where we can do it. What can we do as modern parents to give them tools to confront life, because there's gonna be confrontation. We cannot protect them for everything. They're gonna be adults and teens, and they got becoming adults, and they're gonna have. But I tell them, I'm gonna always be behind you, always. You know, I it's very important to bring them, uh, um, to show them prudence first, and give them the knowledge that every children should know: self-esteem,
yeah,
self-love, self-respect,
yep.
boundaries.
Boundaries, the most
Yes.
important thing is
So
healthy
it's
boundaries.
fairly simple, but like I was mentioning, if you don't do it for yourself, then you cannot give it to your children. And this is where the big problem resides, because people I have super ego that are bigger than what they can control. The super ego is the mask that people wear into society. It's not their real face. They will show you a face that is friendly, and they're gonna lie about who they are. But when they're getting alone, most of them are miserable because
Yeah.
they cannot even fucking imagine a world without self-victimization. It's an incredible work. It's hard work, but we all need to do it.
But it
And
makes you stronger, you know?
yes, and the great work, and for the people, just like that. So the people who are listening now, if you're not putting time into your self, uh, uh, to better yourself, if you're not doing it,
Just get
then
fitter.
you're
Just
partaking into this. You know, I- the time to do it is now.
I mean,
It
people
needs
acted
now.
they acted like they care so much about health during COVID, you know? Like, I
Oh
mean,
my
it's
god.
like a joke. Like, fat, out of shape people, like, who never take care of their health and their life, and they're walking around with, never cared about health, never, made it a priority, and then here they are, like, thinking that they're health experts, like walking around with masks and lining up for the jab. And I always, like, once COVID and this stupid jab came along, I was always saying, it's like, like, the powers that be, they spent decades dismantling people's psych immunity, and now they can so easily get to and dismantle your physical immunity. Because if you're just going to have no mental immune system, no vetting, and just line up and let people stick whatever in your arm without even knowing what's in it, or asking any kind of questions, any kind of pushback whatsoever, I mean,
Mhm.
it's just like, it's incredible. I wanted to mention, because, like, again, there's all these, just more and more things over the decades are just uh, you know adding to stuff that I was trying to tell people for so long. So again, there's like a short docu-series called The Program: Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping. And it's called The Troubled Teen Industry. And it's pretty vast too. And it's basically, and it goes back to like the 1950s, or maybe even before that. They kind of give you the history. And so it's, the criminalization, basically, of like kids who are acting out again, teenagers, or even young kids like 9 years old, acting out because of maybe, lousy parenting. Oh, God forbid. And so there's the kid giving the adults the critical feedback, and instead of the parent being able to take the critical feedback, the acting out that the kid is having, and just kind of being more of an investigator, asking questions, slowing down, trying to
Critical
proceed.
thinking.
Yeah. And so what they do is they have these institutions, these facilities, literally come in the middle of the night, arrest like their kid, and take them to these places and keep them there for like 2 years, or how, 15 months. Some, it depends, like some of them 23 months, 23 months, and it varies. And but it's a really good series. Again, it's called The Program: Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping, about like the MK Ultra type, like, mind control. And what's really sad is that it's the parents that put them there. And like, they talk to psychiatrists, like, so, social workers. Like, this one guy is an attorney that was fighting for the kids, and this one lady, is talking about how it's not the kids that these people are after; it's the parents, because it's the parents also get groomed by these institutions, and the institutions actually put the parents through seminars that are quite different from the ones that the kids get. And I mean, it's like the fact that, again, parents are supposed to be the immune system for their children. They're supposed to protect their children from the diseased society. And it just blows my mind, really, how adult people can't even realize, I mean, this goes back to like 2007. Like, these kids were talking about being in these places in, like, like the early 2000s. And so this is kind of like, recent. Like, these are times where, it's after 9/11. Like, adults should be more, kind of shrewd as to what, and conspiracy theorists, and questioning, like, what's going on in this country, and to still just be kind of falling for this stuff, and giving, like, for adults, parents, to be giving their power away. I was just trying so hard to help and to talk about building yourself and being fitter mentally, physically, and spiritually, like, since the 70s and 80s, and to see grown people fall, like, always falling, whether it's for COVID and the jabs, or put your kid, in our facility, and then the parents are paying to have their kids, like, just brainwashed and re-educated in so-called, it's not that the teens are not the trouble. The system is the trouble. Again, the kids are having healthy adverse responses to this sick, twisted, evil, death economy system, and people are criminalizing the healthy people having and acting out, and having healthy signs and symptoms of a completely sick society. It's insane that this stuff is still going on
Yeah, it's a fucking
this
circus. This is
long.
what it is. I mean, me and you and a few other people, we can see through this shit. I'm immune to this shit from earlier in my life, and I've seen the um the immorality young in my life too, and I was always anti-conformist slash abolitionist slash anarchist mindset since my younger years, and I did understand it, very well at this time. But I understood later in life by my experience I had with the suffering of other people and my suffering. Sadly, this is how we are built into this 3D world. We are residing into the plane of effect. So we don't have the critical thinking. I'm not talking about you and me or the people who are listening, but generally, people don't have critical thinking because it seems to be a pathology. They're treating the people from the freedom movement and the people like you and me as they called us so many names. Here in Quebec, it was really bad. I think it's 4 years ago now that we had this crisis, and I will never forget that. It was a segregationist, discriminatory, and highly divisive psyop, and it worked perfectly. And the people, the network, these links between people has been shattered at a point that we have a complicated, and we it's like talking to children. I don't like to say that because children are very smart, but these adults, like you mentioned,
Genetically modified adults. Call
yes,
them genetically
we have
modified
grown
adults.
ass people, but with the emotional intelligence of 7 years old,
It's
six
really
years old. Yes,
it's almost like they're autistic, and I'm not, I don't say that to be like, insulting or mean, but like, I mean, health has been so assaulted, and it's just, if people don't even know what health is, and they don't even know what it means to be healthy, to be a healthy adult, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and I could completely understand and appreciate like how some people really do get so lost and disoriented, and you know I mean, and again, I might not be, sitting there saying any of this stuff to you if I didn't get pumped full of rage and frustration
I
in the
understand
80s
that perfectly.
that gave me that, I mean, because it's like, it was the assault, the real hard assault on my health that kind of like defibrillated me, that literally, set me so straight and made things so super clear. And if other people got kind of lesser doses of it and lesser concentrations, and so for like, right, like sometimes, right, a certain amount of abuse, kind of is good. It sets you straight. Like, it's not confusing. Like, I was always saying that, like, this is not confusing. I wasn't confused at all. But it was the people around me who were constantly treating me like I didn't know what I was talking about. And I mean, I don't know, like, I just tell people, align with the laws of nature, with
Yes,
physics, like, work out. I mean, because it doesn't lie to you. It gives you a true mirroring, like, unlike anything else. Align with math, align with science, align with nature more. Like, that's how you get to the truth. Like, don't listen to fraudulent people, with costumes and titles and letters after their name. Just build yourself, exercise your true self muscle, and like, the more you do that, the more you'll be able to see through bullshit and frauds and authority easier and easier and easier, over time.
yeah, and we have the responsibility to do something about it, and we're an hour and 39 minutes, so I it's a no other perspective, and this is why these kind of podcasts are existing. Actually, we are here to share what we know, and what we understand, and what we see. So it's for me and for all the people who are uh, um, into the One Great Work Network, and the people who are not into the One Great Work. It's our job to talk about these things and bring some solutions. So the solution is, there's many solutions that can be used. And this is one of the thing I want to get put an emphasis before we go on Mark Passio's um, do not lie to yourself. Stop lying to yourself about, and start imagining thing and dreaming
That's a
of
mind
something
body
that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's
So,
mind body connection. Like, you
yes,
gotta, bring this to this. Like, people need to listen to this. That's this. Again, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no,
I'm, I'm,
go
I'm,
on.
I'm basically, I'm just basically reiterating what you were saying that
Yes,
Mark was saying. I just kind of just like use it in a different language, because people have no idea how they've been put at war with their own self. And this was always pinned against this. Like they always said, yoga practice and, places like the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies, like the mind can go anywhere and make up whatever it wants, but the body is always in the here and now, in reality. Like this is the real bank account. And this needs to be connected to this because, people are always, like using their own health and their own body, and messing up their health bank account. And I mean, again, I'm trying not to divert, but I'm just using it as an example because I'm in the process of reading Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Giuffre, one of Epstein's, survivors. And like what was painful to read was how, because she was literally sexually abused by her own father first, since the age of 7, and then he gave her to the neighbor, the guy, to sexually abuse. And so what becomes so painfully, like once your boundaries are violated at that young of an age, and you don't have the ability to stop anybody from just completely, like, so that's what I mean. Like that's then people kind of, that's how she was basically set up and ended up with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's just like so sad how, like, her health was getting compromised. You're just getting so trained to just be your own enemy and to just literally pillage. I would call this like your inner landscape, to just pollute and desecrate your in inner landscape with, and pinning this against this. And it's painful to read someone kind of, had it, worse than I did. And I thank God that I was in a position to fight back. I mean, again, I don't know what good it did me. My life kind of like sucked, really. And I suffered greatly financially, materialistically, but my mission was always to live just like a legitimate, trim and lean life. Like that's what I was going for, to have money and materialism, but in a fit and trim, legitimate way. But it ended up being pretty anorexic, unfortunately, because I just didn't expect all of this stuff to go on this long and to be this nuts.
I mean, we didn't even fucking dig to that much.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do a part 2. It's getting pretty late over here.
Yeah, I'm getting tired, and I just want to thanks people for joining us tonight, and the people will watch it later via YouTube Odyssey. And I thank you so much, people, and thank you, Catherine,
Thank you, Fred. Thank you,
for
Fred.
for
Thank
your
you,
sharing your
listeners.
time with me tonight.
You're welcome.
And I and Theo just a message there. Heart, soul, nature connection is what missing in people. Yes, connection with nature. Absolutely, that's great.
So sad. It's so sad. I mean,
Yeah,
my heart is like breaks,
we.
breaks.
Sadly, I don't have the luxury of of getting depressed, and I'm fighting. I'm not fighting only for me. I'm fighting for my children and the children of the other people, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. So
I
go on.
can I just say that because it was a big part of my life. was lifting heavy weights and listening to heavy metal. Like I gravitated so much to heavy metal because it like,
Yeah.
Judas Priest was one of my particularly favorite bands because they had like such empowering lyrics, and heavy metal always used to get a bad rap. Like it's like, are you kidding me? Like the only people promoting Satanism are the people running your country. The metalheads and these heavy metal bands, they're just trying to get you to, right, like embrace your healthy dark side. Like people, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, people, they don't even know what a healthy dark side is. They don't know how to be emotionally balanced. Everyone is so clinging and leaning to the obedient and bowing, compliant goody, and healthy anger. Like my anger got so pathologized at such a young age, and it was so clear that the system just wants you with no defenses. Trying to pathologize healthy anger leaves people, again, with zero immunity, zero healthy defenses. Like I think of the poor sharks that they use for, like shark fin soup or something, where they take the poor sharks and cut the fins off and then throw the shark alive back in the water, and it just goes like nosedives to the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's what's happening to people.
Yep. They're cutting they didn't even start to live, and they're cutting their wings already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So just tell people where they can get your work another time. It's right there on the bottom. But if you have things that you want to mention, like
I
Truth Radio Show, I think it's
oh
Studio B.
the revolution dot radio.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, One Great Work Network for the people, and all the links are there. The page, you go on page and you go on Catherine Waters' uh, page there on the One Great Work Network, and you have example. The YouTube there, the YouTube is not mentioned there, but there's the YouTube part. The videos are there, the interviews and things that you did on your
Yeah.
radio show. So it all worth your time if you are called by this information. It's so important to talk about it and to share this information. So go encourage Catherine and welcome. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your precious time with me. I appreciate it, and I totally want to do a comeback with that. There's many things to talk about. So thank you everyone
Thank you, Fred.
for joining us. And I don't know if it's gonna be French or English the next one, but I this is why it's so cool to be bilingual and cover this. And for the French people who are listening there, the LIBERcast is on YouTube, Odyssey, and there's a French part there that you can go see. There's a lot of new videos. I made about 3. So go see that. Don't be afraid. Share the information. So take care, people, and talk to you later. Bye.